I love you. Thank you. I know, I wish that was recorded because I wanted to talk about the earth needing a drink. Let me know. Oh, are we good?
We're good.
We are recording. Guys, thank you so much for being here so early, 8:06 a.m. I know that's super early for some of us, but thank you so much. I'm super pumped to talk to you guys about personal branding and creating that personal branding statement. And I'm going to jump in and just start this session off with a question. And that question is to you guys. Was your idea or thought or definition of what a personal brand different before you read your articles and started your reflection process on how you create it? And if so, how? How was it different?
I personally thought like a brand would be something I would have to like change or like make happen. You know what I mean? Not something
Yeah.
that just comes like naturally. You know what I mean? So it's just I thought it was something you would have to go out and like actually physically work to do. When it's better when it's more natural. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
love that, Joe. Yeah, right. You're looking at, you have to self reflect, right? And look at the things and the qualities and the skills that you already possess. Yeah. Who else?
I would agree with Joe. Like it's one of those things where you kind of like when I try to think of like branding, like it's that like I just kind of assumed it was something you have to like really like put a lot of effort into,
Mm,
and just knowing that it can just be who you are, just putting out into the world. Like for me, like just being super positive, being upbeat, trying to be like just that ray of sunshine, like just being myself is easy. So I don't have to really work hard at that. But if I want to be shown as a hard worker, like that does require a little bit more work, but at the same time, like it's not something I have to really go out and just like this is my brand, this is who I am. Like it's just kind of just being who you are, putting in that effort, and then like letting people just kind of like perceive that, and I don't have to go shove it down people's throats.
yeah, it's kind of just a piece of you, right?
Yeah.
There was a piece in the article that I really liked about essentially what makes you different, right? Like, what do you bring to the table, and what's the benefit that you give that nobody else can give? And one of the questions was my freak factor that makes me unusual. So in your self reflection process to kind of put this together, right? What would you guys consider is like what would be a freak factor for yourself? What makes you unique and different?
That one I'm still trying to figure out.
Well,
I
I
fit
mean,
into
we're
so
all
many little
unique and
niches. Yeah.
yeah, we're all unique and different in different ways, obviously, because we're not all cookie cutter people. So just, I mean, like we brand at work. Part of my branding that I use for my calls is Elaine from Maine.
Hmm.
And being able to do that. And I've actually had, friends and family that have realized, hey, your name, rhymes with that. So that has become, part of who I am, even outside of work now. Um, so that
Elaine, I love that, and I love that little play. Do you feel like Elaine from Maine represents who you are?
I am because I was born and bred in this state, and I'm proud of
Okay.
it.
Yeah. All
Let's
right.
go. Let's
Yeah.
go further though, because I like this too.
Mm-hmm.
But Greg Zimba, that son of a gun, went and hired another Elaine, and she's sitting over on the other side of the building, and she thinks her name rhymes too. So, like, I know too that that is a, by the way, a
I own it.
great
That's
hook.
mine.
The tag is yours, but
I
what's the
love it.
difference
That's
maker,
mine.
right? What's the
Yeah.
difference maker, Elaine, and how you represent your brand? So that's that part of that super freak piece. I know
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with you for, off and on for many years. I know there's a lot of what you bring into this job that differentiates you from, any atypical customer service call. So what would you, if without me telling everybody in here what I see and hear when you do your thing and what drives you and motivates you, what would you have us know about that brand, Elaine from Maine?
That's a damn good question.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I figured
Uh,
because I asked it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't know. I mean, it's just, and obviously, you, Red, have worked with me many years. Jonna, I've worked with
Yeah.
you for a number of years as well. Um, just trying to think as far as freak factor. I mean, my personality, I think most everybody who works with me, for the most part, I get along with everybody. So, just being, that personable and being able to be open and honest with folks. I mean, if you what you see is what you get.
Mm.
See, now I like
So,
that.
yep.
So let me interject and with Jonna's blessing because she's our hostess with the mostest.
Go for it.
But we discovered a little bit of this in last night's discussion. So as John is kind of getting you to kind of unpack and look at you from a brand perspective, what we heard last night, and I think already I'm hearing now is, oh shit, man, I want to talk about like positive things or like super unique things that differentiate me. I don't know if I'm
Mhm.
ready to commit to the word choice. I don't know what word I'd select. So I hear a lot of this hesitation, right? And it is normal. But in what we are bringing in front of you as we go through the EmpowerME, and if you'll notice, there's been this kind of cadence of we talk about identifying with goals, we talk about building on your strengths, and remember that discussion where you were like, huh, I took the test and it said I had all these amazing talents. You have to kind of embrace those talents from that discussion. Remember, we challenged you, embrace them, right? Name them, claim it, and aim it. Because once you aim it, it starts to become that intentional decision that this is part of my brand. I got this great hook, by the way. No one is going to take a lane from Maine from you. But what we have to be comfortable with is and I'll just switch it and say, I need to sit down in front of two CEOs, Nike and Adidas, both well-known brands. But tell me behind the brand name, what does it mean that I'm holding a Nike product versus an Adidas product, right? What does it mean when you say, Elaine from Maine? Because I know from my observations what it means to me. But what we want you guys to do is to practice and eventually get comfortable speaking in very certain terms about really your value. Why, what motivates you to stay in the lanes that you've created, right? So does that make sense? All right. So I know I put you on the spot, Miss Elaine, but and I love you and I picked you for that reason. But everybody in this chat, this is where I think John is kind of asking you to consider going, and I would love for you guys to go ahead and all right, I'm gonna talk about my badassery and so on and so forth. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, Miss John. I
No, I think that's fabulous because I'm going to play off of that. So, Red talked about that self-reflection process where you have to look at your strengths, right? And that's what branding is you look at the things that you bring to the table that are different and positive, right? It's a brand should be a set of skills and experience that nobody else can bring to the table. So, think about it. I want you to think about something that you have always been good at, something that you've always been really good at. And it doesn't need to involve work. It doesn't need to be you've always been good at making offers on every call and you get 100 lines every month and all of these things. On a personal level, as a human being, what have you always been really good at?
Empathy.
Ooh,
Reading
okay.
other people's feelings. Like it's been something um raised in a very toxic environment for a long time. I would always try to break up any fights that were happening just
Mm,
by like, hey, look at me, like let me distract you kind of thing. And like just reading those feelings and really like honing in on those. And so that's something like I can remember going as far back as like my memory. So like 3 years old, like just being able to feel the feelings of those around me, the environment, and just really just learning as I grew to kind of try to differentiate, is it my feelings or is it like the atmosphere that I'm feeling? But just
mm,
really that empathy and being able to put myself in somebody else's shoes is something that I've always been really good at.
it's fantastic. And it's a skill that not many possess. All right. I want more. What have you always been really good at? No, you don't think? It's hard, right? It's hard if you
The
think about
It's almost like it's taboo, you're taught like not almost like to not think about it, you know what I mean? You stay away from those questions, so yeah.
Mhm.
what do you
So
mean? What's the
well, no,
danger? I'm sorry, AO. I just want to ask
no,
Joe
go.
real quick, like because I
yeah,
think it's a real statement, but
I do
what I
too.
don't want to risk. So here's what I'm really good at, and I want to practice it. Is I've become really good at not assuming I know what you mean. Like in my role as a leader and as a development consultant, the danger of assuming that I know what you mean. I never actually know why you said it and what you meant by it. So I've learned to never go, oh, yeah, it's fucking taboo, bro. Right. Instead, I'm like, what does that mean, though? Tell me more about when you said that, because everyone in here did a head nod.
Mm.
So it's
And
familiar.
it's like coming up, I mean, it's almost like giving away like a weakness almost. It's not like even giving a strength, it's like something that somebody else can use, you know what I mean? It's just you say we put it out there and then it's like out there, common knowledge for everybody out there, and then everybody knows it. It's not a secret anymore, so yeah.
So
I
something
don't
you're
know if
really
that makes
good at.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Not yet. Something you're really good at, and you voluntarily say, "Hey, everybody, I'm exceptionally good at complex mathematical equations or solving complex mathematical problems." And I'm just going to put that over there, right? Because I don't know. How does it get
Like
used
calling
against
attention
you?
to yourself,
Okay, so then
like
people.
singling you out.
All right,
Yes.
okay. That's where I wanted to, I think, to
Yes.
go. So you might say, I'm really, really good at fixing busted, emotions. I'm exceptionally good at developing our future leaders. So that's what maybe Red would be guilty of saying, right? Um, and someone in the room goes, "It didn't work for me. Like, who is this guy? Right? Like, can he even fit through the door? His head is so huge." Is that kind of where we're going?
Yeah.
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 Okay. I think it's important. It is when you all were kind of doing the man, that man is on to something. He's, were y'all was that kind of similar initially to your thought process?
Absolutely. Like, we're taught from a young age, like, hey, you can be happy with who you are, but like, why brag about it? Because
Right.
it makes you come off as arrogant or it makes you come off as cocky. And it's
Right.
just one of those things. It's easier to talk negative about yourself because then
Mhm.
people can like pump you up. But like, if you're talking positive about yourself, people are like, "Pfft, you're way sure of yourself, aren't you? You're really conceited."
So listen, this is not a therapy session. I'm not here to like literally go, well, wait a minute, because I've always wanted to be a therapist with a couch. And you're like, let's start with your childhood. But all right, so then here's what I want this group of exceptionally talented and driven people, because that's what you are. I want you to kind of consider what I'm going to share next. What's the trade off when we don't
Mm.
share openly what we're good at? I want you to think about it. And then I'll give you another absurd example, because that's another thing that I'm known for. I don't know if I want it to be part of my brand, but it's there. Absurd examples. You are exceptionally good at CPR. Ah, yeah, but I got some head nods on that one. But you're not telling anybody because you don't want to be perceived as being arrogant. What's the potential trade off?
So I think that could be like,
Yes.
say you're on an airplane and nobody knows CPR and you're too shy to say it, and someone might die. Is that kind of
They
what you're
might,
getting at? Like,
yeah, they might not
yeah,
even think to ask
Yeah.
you. They
right.
might not even think to ask you, what do I do? What are the symptoms before I do CPR? I know that you have talked a lot about your depth of knowledge and the exceptional, skill that you possess. And I think that I'm calling you because right now my dad isn't having a heart attack, or, my puppy's okay. But, the thing is when we have knowledge of someone else's uh, brand and the skill and the talent and the services that come with it, the audience will check that. And then at some point, they'll need that. They'll need that service. And we always need to know where to go in our lives, right? Everybody knows where to go when the furnace doesn't work. Everybody knows where to go when, the car's starting to make a little tapping sound. Well, there's so many other things that we need in our lives as far as course guidance, education, mentorships, et cetera, that we really don't have a kind of a great list. So as you guys are starting to think about it, The only folks that think you're arrogant, and I'm not casting aspersions here, are those that haven't reached the level that you are attempting to reach about being honest and true with yourself. There's a difference about saying, I'm very adept at sitting down with people and helping them map out where they are in their leadership, journey, to saying, well, you shouldn't be talking to anybody else because I am literally the only one that can do this exception. That there's a difference, right? But I had to figure that out even for myself, how to say it. My biggest fear was, what if I said it and then I couldn't back up what I
Mhm.
shared, right? Which then just forced me to say, well, then get better at it because you feel it in your heart. I feel it in my heart, and I know I have a skill set. So again, I'm sorry, Miss John. I got
No, I love
pumped
it.
and inspired and motivated by this group,
Yeah.
but I want you
Yeah.
to think about it. That's all. Think about. Look, what if it was true? What if what you know in your heart is an absolute fact? You are good at empathy, Meg. You're good, but you haven't shared. And somebody who just needs to know, hey, am I reading the room right? I'll
Mm,
go talk to MP, right? Because I
mm.
know she's really there, and I just need to know because I feel like maybe I'm not reaching my group. I feel like maybe there's something I'm missing. There's a friction or something, and they won't turn to you if you haven't shared it. All right. I love you guys. Thank you
Beautiful.
for letting me. Oh, wait,
Love
watch
it.
this. Oh, I just got off my soapbox.
Yeah. I enjoy red soapboxes. They're good.
Me too.
Ayo, you had something that you wanted to share, and I hope you didn't forget it. And I hope that might have added to a little bit of it.
I won't say I forgot it. I was actually gonna kind of play off what Megan said because
Yeah.
empathy is one of my strengths as well. Um, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Sort
it
of.
like it
Yeah.
There,
died.
Okay.
There we
there,
go.
we
All
can
right.
hear you now. Yep.
Okay. No, I was gonna play somewhat off of what Megan said because empathy is one of my strengths as well.
Yeah.
And so going back to the kind of the original question, I think in addition to that, we as empathetic individuals are usually really great connectors. Like we can bring people and or situations together really well, which is a strength, especially in times where people tend to be on polar opposites of like everything, right? So
Yeah.
I was just going to point that out as a potential strength as well.
I love that, Ayo.
Okay,
Do you
and
feel like? Go
I
ahead.
have to interject, Jonna, because I'm checking my Slack on the side. IO.
Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
sorry, brother.
Yes.
I
Oh,
started it.
I'm so sorry.
No, it was my fault. I started
Thank
it,
you.
but IO. So
Okay.
thank you.
I like it. Ayo. I'm looking for
Appreciate
baby
you.
names for my sister-in-law. Like that might be a winner. She wants something that's like simple. Ayo.
Well, it's actually short for a much longer name, but it
Yeah.
translates to happy or joy. So there you go.
Aw,
Oh,
I love it.
I love it. Do
Yeah.
you feel like that's something that you
That's
like?
something I try to exactly.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
love
Yeah.
that. I love that. All right, so we kind of I had a couple of you talk about some of the things that you have reflected on and what you could be really good at. Within that, right? Like there's a lot of things that we can be really good at, right? Like I'm good at growing a garden. I have great green beans and amazing corn. But what is a skill or a strength that you think that you currently possess, that you're the most proud of? Something that you feel in your heart. I'm going to kind of go back to what Red had said. Something that you feel that is in your heart and something that you feel is just going to be a part of you as a human. Joe, I feel like I like blew you
Mm.
away.
No, this is a
Oh,
fly coming
okay.
at me. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good timing. It was good timing.
I was trying to think of something on there, but I mean, it's tough to kind of focus in and like pick one thing that that passionate about. I would say like writing. I like to write and read. I used to write stories and stuff like that, and that was one thing I was really good at. And I just never did anything with it, And I just always wonder what would happen if I just even attempted to do something with it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, Joe, because as mm, I want to say get older, right? Like grow and mature. We mature. I kind of have this picture in my brain, right? Like when you're younger and you're maturing, you don't really think about the things that you currently do. And then when you stop doing those things that you enjoy and that brings you joy, further down the line, you kind of think like, oh, like I that brought me joy at that time. And how can I bring that back into what brings me joy now, and does it still bring me joy? And I think it's really, really important that if we are going to self reflect on ourselves and our strengths and the skills that we possess, right? We have to take those moments of doing things that bring us that joy and bring us that openness of looking at something and having the confidence to say, like, I'm really good at that. That's really good, right? And it's a confidence builder. It makes you happy when you're able to do it, and then it gives you those times and those moments of self-reflection to say, these are my strengths. And then more and more of those moments are going to just kind of happen for you and kind of just flow in because you're open to it at that point. So what I'm going to tell you, Joe, is if you enjoyed writing and you felt like you were good at it, what's stopping you from doing it again? What's stopping you from going that step?
I mean, nothing really, because I mean, I can't make excuses anymore. My kids are growing and everything like that. I have time off from work, you know. So yeah, there's not really anything stopping me now. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm going to also tell you, excuses are just ways that you're holding yourself back from things, right? And every single human being, no matter how many responsibilities that you have in your life and how many things that you are going on, deserves a minimum of 1 hour a day that is just about you and what you need to bring you confidence, because you'll never be able to truly tell somebody what you're good at if you can't reflect on and have confidence in the things that you truly feel you're good at within your heart. Does that make sense?
yes.
All right, Joe, I expect a full report or story. I want chapters. I want some good character build. Like,
Yeah.
bring it on, bring it on. I'm serious. Think about that. All
Yeah, it
right.
would be nice to just get back into it as a hobby and stuff, you know. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Guys, I guess if we can kind of keep it let's kind of make it a little bit more simple and really kind of bring in the beginning stages of how do you create a personal brand. And a lot of it comes with image and kind of the image that you kind of put out there, right? So where are places and moments and things that we can put our image out into the world? Let's name them. Let's name a couple of them.
Work. That's
Work.
an easy one.
So with people,
Yes.
okay. Work,
When you're out at the grocery store shopping,
grocery store, shopping, okay. Where else? So many places.
Get-togethers, like family
Get-togethers,
or otherwise.
okay. So people that you hang out with, gatherings, okay.
Even
What
just with
else?
the family. Yeah.
Yeah, family. Okay. There's a really big one here and that can make or break you, baby.
Like social media one.
Yes, social media. Huge. Huge, right?
What
Like
what is this
you
social media you speak of?
okay, there's this place where you put your face in a book.
Oh,
Is it on the interwebs?
Or
on the
it's
The
interwebs.
Instagram.
interwebs.
Yeah. You get so many things. But yeah, social media, right? Think about you could come to work and really work hard on an image that you build in this building, right? And the what you want to portray as somebody who can always just be really positive and somebody who's just open and honest with others and accepting. But then I'm going to look at you on Facebook and see, does that match the individual that I see and know here in these four walls, right? And if it doesn't, what happens?
Your perception of them is just completely like what do you believe? Do
Yeah,
you believe the one you see online or the person you see in person?
correct. Right.
You start to
So
question them.
you start to question, and when you question somebody, you don't really trust them,
Hmm.
right? And if you don't trust them, you're not going to be on board. You're not going to get on that choo-choo train and, win big things and do big things. So you got to be really careful about where you want to start, and making sure that the message, that your brand is consistent throughout. It's not just on social media. It's not just in family gatherings. So what are some things, so if we're thinking about Facebook, there are other ways that could also that could damage our brand, right? Or I don't want to say damage, but prevent us from being able to build it at another level. And we talked about the grocery store, we talked about some gatherings, right? And I just want everybody to kind of just make sure that they're thinking about, when you are in those situations, right? Does this align, or does my behavior essentially align with the brand that I'm trying to create for myself, right? And are you going to make that brand just part of you and who you are? I started working here when I was 20 years old. I was a kid. But I wanted something. I knew I wanted to be something bigger. And when I was I used to do I'm going to tell a little story. I used to do Sunday school, like I think it was called like CCD. And they always picked me to lead like a group, and I had no idea why. I had here, Jonna, you read this and you lead the discussion. Okay, right? Like I had no idea. And then one day my mom actually just told me recently that she's like, I was always told by your CCD teachers that you had leadership skills. Oh, okay, right? Like that was just part of essentially who I was even as a young kid, as a young child. So I knew I wanted to have some type of career where I could lead people and inspire people and have that impact. But I also knew that I needed to live it and let it be part of who I am. So I chose not to do certain things and not to invite certain people into my life just based on personality types or just situations or whatever that might be. So that's also something that I just want everybody to just be very conscious about. And if there's something within your heart that says, this isn't going to be part of who I am or what I need, like, let's talk about how you kind of navigate that and move around it. Does that make sense on how you kind of start and where you can start thinking about, well, where are some of the things that I can clean up when I start to think about my personal brand? All right. So I have one more question for everybody. And I hope that you guys can kind of take what we've talked about and the discussion that we've already had and put this and have a really good piece on this. But I want to know, what would be the benefit to me if I was working with you? What would you bring to me if I was working with you? What's my end game? What's your superpower?
Compassionate and efficient problem solving.
Ooh,
Love it.
compassionate and efficient problem solving. I love it. Now, if we get a little deeper on that, I'm going to get you talking. I hope I get you talking, Lyle. If we go a little deeper on that, we can get kind of specific with our brand, right? So if we're going to get specific, what can compassionate and efficient problem solving help you do in a specific area? So I'm going to give you an example before I kind of let you go on. So it's one thing to be able to, I don't know, be a good vet, right? You can't really just, I'm a great vet. But if we go a little bit more specific, it can kind of evolve into, I'm a great vet to puppies with respiratory infections and who have to transition into a new home from a broken home, specifically on the East Coast. So if we take what you bring to me as a benefit, how do we make that so that it's specific in what you do and what makes what you do a little bit more? Does that make sense?
It does. I'll just, since we're all part of the T-Mobile family and brand, I'll stick to here and I'll
I love it.
say
Okay.
compassionate and efficient problem solving What I would bring to your table as a member of your team is helping to strengthen the relationships between our brand T-Mobile and our client base. They know that when they call in and connect to us or me in particular, they're going to get the same friendly smile over the phone each time, and I'm going to work diligently and efficiently as efficiently as possible to solve whatever their concern is.
Great. I love it. That's my benefit. That's what I'm going to get out of working with IO. So talk to me. I want to hear more.
As far as what other
Well,
benefits
either
are,
from you or MP, Joe, like you laid it out there beautifully, IO. Like you gave
Right,
me
how are we
exactly
supposed
what
to
I was
follow
looking
that
for.
up?
I can't because you're different. You bring something different to me. I get a different benefit working with MP.
Um, I mean, really, just kind of playing off my whole like empathness.
Yeah, go for it.
I really love to just connect with all the members of my team when I'm at work specifically. So like I go around, I make sure every morning I post something like inspirational or just thought provoking in our chat as soon as I log on. And then once I'm logged on, I will go around and say good morning to every single person and usually try to have a quick little conversation. How's your day going? How's whatever, if they have something going on in their life, just to know that I'm someone they can come to if they need something, even if it's just, hey, I need to talk to somebody for a minute, or hey, I really need help working through this issue, and they just need an ear. So I'm one of those people that you can just come to it and I'm not gonna judge you. Like, I'm gonna open with a list with an yeah, listen with an open mind, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm not judging you and or preconceiving anything. I'm trying not to assume that I know what you're gonna say, so that way you can get out what you need. And if you want just an ear, hey, I'm an ear. If you want somebody to help you kind of work through something and just really get that off your chest, hey, I'm your girl too, because I'm more than willing. And if I don't know the answer to something, I'm gonna tell you, but we can find it together.
Mm. So you are essentially somebody that can bring me an empathetic approach to problem solving when I have roadblocks and challenges that I
Yes.
need to essentially overcome. So Megan, I'm interested, and I really hope that you take my advice on finding something that brings you joy, because that's a heavy load to pull on others' emotions on a regular basis, right? It's a huge benefit that you bring to the table. So get a little bit more specific on one, like the ones that you actually decide to bring on that emotional load, but two, bringing yourself some joy and giving yourself something back can kind of recharge your batteries and help you focus on what strengths you have and skills and have confidence in that.
It can be draining,
Yeah,
just
I bet.
because, like, I'll even do it not realizing I'm doing it, like,
Mhm.
I just remember when tragedy hit the center not that long ago,
Mhm.
I was sitting there and all of a sudden I started feeling very, very sad, and I didn't know why.
Mhm.
And then news came out as to why, and I was like, "This makes so much sense."
Mhm.
And I had to just step back and, like, when I got like, on my drive home, I just had to, like, reflect and release and just get it off my chest, like, even just to the air, and I was like, "This is how I'm feeling in this moment. This is my feeling," and just kind of try to release that, and it was kinda hard, but then, like, coming home and, like, having my hubby to sound off to was
Yeah.
helpful, and being
Here you
able
go.
to
Take my
really
load.
yes, like, "Hey, I need to share this, like,
Yeah.
let me get this off my chest," and
Yeah.
just having somebody else that's there for a sounding board for me is helpful because it is draining.
MP, I need you to know that I would find a benefit in that when tragedy or something like that does hit to a certain extent, right? Like the way that you've been able to feel it, you can help people through those situations and those emotions. So I like that. Dig a little bit deeper into it. I think it can absolutely be one of those things that's just within your heart. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a lot
That
to
is
think
awesome,
through, but
MP.
yes,
Um,
thank you.
I mean, none of us were put on this earth to judge anybody. We're all different. But, you know, in my opinion, or statement is that we all have the same color blood that runs through our veins. Doesn't matter what color we are on the outside. And doing the job that we do, we get all kinds of people. So no matter if they're screaming at us or whatever, it's like we've all got to be able to have that open mind. And that's one thing that I try to remember every single day. I'm not in this person's shoes. I don't know 100% of what it is that they're going through, but there's a reason why they're calling for me to be able to go ahead and help them out of whatever situation it is at this point.
You know, I love that you brought that up, because one of the questions in the article is the type of people that need me the most are.
Anybody that's stuck in a situation that they need help with. I mean, and it can be anything. It could be they've lost their jobs, they've had a death in the family. There's a number of different things that are on the other end of that phone for us.
Mhm.
And we've got to make sure that we're not judging just based on the small amount of information that we're getting from them. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to be judge and jury on anything that happens in anybody else's life, whether it's, just meeting up with any of you folks or anybody on the other end of that phone. We were not put on this earth to be able to judge others.
Great. Joe, what are the type of people that need you the most?
For trying to find like an out of the
It
box
doesn't have
solution,
to be
or
for work, by the way.
no, yeah, I'm
Okay.
just quick thinking and out of the box solutions. You know what I mean? Just be something creative, but also to be able to keep the like mood like light. You know what I mean? Not get too focused or seriously driven on something that where to the exclusion of all else. You know, keep the atmosphere kind of fun. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm good at. So yeah.
Yeah. Nick, first off, I love your cat, because it keeps running up and down the stairs, and I'm a cat person. Is
Yeah.
it a boy or a girl? I don't want to call it like.
This one's a boy right here. His name's
Oh,
Donnie.
oh,
Oh, that's
But
cute.
yeah, there's another one that's a girl, Penny, and they just like chase each other all day.
it is
They
the
might be,
cutest thing ever.
yeah, I don't know if it's crack or what, but they're
Yeah.
crazy. But
Hey, I
yeah,
want to know about you. Yeah, what are the type of people that
yeah,
need you the most?
I don't know. I that's a tough one. I was thinking about, like, I don't have kids. Like, not many people really depend on me. I guess my girlfriend, we like support each other.
Okay.
Um, Definitely like customers at work. But kind of what Joe said, like keeping things light. I think that's a trait I have is if there's like 20 calls in queue, there's only two of you and 5 minutes till close. Like I just like to make jokes about how it kind of sucks, but like we have to be
Yeah.
here. Might as well make light of it and like
Yeah.
try to laugh.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do.
You're there to kind of help create an environment of let's just get through it, right? Like let's just make
Right.
this happen. Yeah, I like that. I know an individual. You some of you might know this person, but um, I have been worked closely with this person for a while, and that people call them the human Valium, because they have this calm presence, and that no matter what's happening around them, it can't rattle them, it can't get them too excited, but they're there to help support, and they're there to kind of help guide through the situation and make light
Steady
in certain
hand, yeah.
situations. Yeah, like it's definitely a skill and a strength that that individuals should be proud of, because not everybody can stay in those moments and just be chill. But Nick kind of reminded me of that when he talked a little bit about his superpower and what type of people need him the most. All right, so the next question that was on the after the type of people that need me the most is the type of people that I truly connect with. Who are those people? And we all know, like, we can all be just very open with everybody and honest and not judgmental, and be extremely happy and get along with just about everybody. But there are certain people in this world that we just connect with, right? There's a certain type of personality, a skill set, a strength that that person provides, that connection, that heart is there. Who are those type of people for you?
Nerds.
Some with a good sense of
Yes.
humor, yeah.
sense of humor. Okay, I love that. I love the nerds. What
So-
do you mean about nerds? Like
So,
gamers?
like
Just really.
gamers or people who are like into like Harry Potter, Star Wars, all that like just a fantasy world that love to read, love movies, like all that stuff are not afraid to like kind of reflecting back at the beginning of the session here, like let their freak card fly. Like
Yes!
that's like they at their core,
That's
like
why we
not
got along well
afraid.
when we worked together, Megan. So yeah.
Exactly,
Yes!
exactly. Like not afraid to show, hey, I love gaming. I love XYZ. Like I personally, I am a huge Harry Potter like fanatic. I'm not afraid to let that be known. I love Star Wars. I love, all those kinds of things. I personally can't wait to be done with school so I can get back into gaming. I have a
Yes.
newfound love for World of Warcraft that I never knew I liked before. So like I'm not afraid to let that be known about myself. So those are the kinds of people I really connect with.
I love it. Who else? I like the
I would
nerds.
say people that like I'm like attracted to hang out with more like people who are really self-aware and like don't take themselves too seriously. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
say like self-deprecating, but kind of leaning that way. Just kind of
Yeah.
like
Kind of
liking
like
to understand.
Jonna. She's loud, she's proud.
Love it.
I'm just who I am, right? Like you could take it,
You
you could
are.
leave it. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you've helped me through a lot over the years, Jonna. So yeah, you're definitely the number one there. So
Thank you. Io, who do you connect with?
I don't think it's any one type of person. With my life experiences, I've kind of slid in and out of different groups over time, and it's
Yeah.
also kind of what has allowed me to be able to connect with so many different people now is um, experiencing life with different types of people. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say any particular type, just humans. I
I
know that sounds so
love that.
corny, but
No,
like,
it
No.
doesn't.
but like,
I love
That's
that.
fantastic. I love that. And I do want to kind of play off that a little bit too, because I need everybody to know like your brand and your personal brand and these things, they can evolve, right? Like Io mentioned experience and the different types of people that he's had experience with and that, he spent time with. And your brand can evolve based on the experiences that you have and the skill sets that you learn, right? You're not going to be the same person. I'm not the same person that I was when I started here. And my brand's not the same as it was when I started here. That had to evolve with my maturity, right, as a human, but as well as my maturity as a leader and the things and goals and aspirations that I have for myself, right? I have to reflect on those things. And that's another piece that I kind of just want to discuss for a second to end the session, which is I don't know if I was able to have a session with this team or with this crew in the morning back when we were talking about setting your standards. But at one point I had made the statement of who has anybody taken the moment and some time to think of who do I want to be in 5 years? Or in the future, whatever that might be, right? And if we take that moment and say, these are the strengths and the skills and the experiences that I want to build from, and the personality traits and the things that I want in 5 years, I now have to think right now, what are those moves that I have to make? What are the habits that I have to form and that I have to change? What are the things that this person in 5 years does? What's that person's routine? What do they love to do? What brings them joy? And then I have to start doing those things, right? And I have to progress into that person and evolve into that person. So I want you to take a moment and just think about how do you look into the future and say, these are the things and the traits that I want and that I want to have. And then how do you make those small changes? Has anybody ever thought about those things? And if so, what? What are they?
I have to a point in starting school because I am about halfway through my degree now and I want to be able to go into human resources.
That's great.
So being able to know what that entails, and in being able to network with people that are in that particular field to know what it is that I have to build on to be
Mhm.
able to get where I want to be.
That's great.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely, Elaine. So there's different routines and different things you have to do, right, in order to make that progress happen.
Can
Different
uh,
habits too, as far as that goes. I mean, when you're focusing on one thing on there and you're doing something that kind of counterproductive to that, you got to work on what's not doing that anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
even just saying simple things, you know, it could come off the wrong way or anything like that. And you have to kind of be mindful of what's going on in around you and everything like that. It's just, you have to take everything in consideration. So, yeah.
Joe, I love that. I'm going to kind of share an experience and something that I've wanted for myself. And Mr. Red at one point in time had made a statement to me that kind of stuck, which is essentially, in essence, um, being confident in my leadership and who I am as a leader, right? And just that one little simple statement was like, okay, that's what's going to carry me through this. And one of the things that I always held back from and that I wanted to change was if I'm in a moment where I think, did that person say that? Did they mean that? They didn't say it that way. No, they wouldn't have said it that way. They didn't mean that. There's no way. And instead of addressing it and actually clarifying and not assuming that I knew what they meant, right? I ask the question. I have to ask the question instead of just assuming it. Because then if I assume it and then I'm wrong, I'm walking away with a completely different feeling and a completely different aspect. But I didn't want to offend. I didn't want to offend that person, like, and tell them like I didn't know what you were talking about, and then kind of go back to that. Um, so that's the one thing when I started thinking about that statement about being confident within my leadership. I wasn't to a certain extent, but I knew like the future leader that I wanted to be addressed those situations. So now I have to consciously bring consciously think about those moments and consciously say, what did you really mean by that? Let's talk. Red wants to say something.
I like where you're taking us, and so when I'm looking at our clock, I want to
Yep.
do a real quick exercise. Do y'all have some
Mm,
paper? You have something to write with? Just grab it
Yeah.
out. And so John has given you like, hey, I want you to think about. I want you to kind of. We're going into that kind of um, uh, then the word just intentional phase. Intentional phase. We
mhm.
know where, like, hey, who am I? What makes me unique? What am I good at? Would I share it? Would I proclaim it? Would I, broadcast it? And then how do I start to really kind of project who do I want to be in 5 years? So these are great things from a introspective approach, but in many cases, without some structure, you may find that you've drifted off path or it doesn't become a primary focus or you're not in the moment realizing that, hey, this interaction I just had is perfect, is exactly what I wanted to have happen. So um, I'm going to share something in the chat. So this is why I should get the paper. And I don't want you to be thrown by the first couple sentences because I had looked up out of curiosity. And what happens if you had a brand and you appled it, right? So if all you kids probably don't realize, but Apple wasn't always, Apple was this really neat computer company, and then it just kind of meh. It fizzed out. People, it wasn't really relevant, and and then they brought back Steve Jobs, and they became the powerhouse company they are. But for that brand, there was a moment where the brand wasn't strong. But what I'm going to share with you starts in the perspective of, well, how do you rebuild a brand? But it's really steps 2 through 5 that are great starting points. And for some of us, this is like very helpful. So I'm going to give you guys, this is the exercise. So it says, hey, how do I fix my personal brand? And it says, follow these 5 steps. If for whatever reason step one is pertinent. I totally recommend own your past, find your accountability, and own those choices. But if we're just starting, the first step is what John had just said: define your desired reputation. So here's the exercise: write down that, define your desired reputation, and then I'm going to give you some freedom here. Write down a couple of ideas with question marks. That means you don't own what you just wrote because you want to just see what it looks like in writing. And I am not going to make anybody read what they wrote. I just want you to get kind of used to this practice. So just give me the heads up when you've written down, define your desired reputation, and you've given yourself enough freedom to write down one or two things you'd like to have as your rep, right? Dependable, creative, problem solver, empath, you know, uh, lean on me sort of kind of thing, whatever that might be. Okay. All right. Now, create a game plan. All right. Now, when I read this, I was like, I think I've been doing this. I don't think I looked at it like this. And the moment I looked at creating the game plan, I did all of a sudden see the moments as I was working so hard to create my brand where I missed opportunities to show, where I missed opportunities to leverage. And then when I did that, I started like everything forward, I became a lot more tight to what I wanted to create. Right. So creating a game plan is finding the moments in which your reputation can shine, right? And so give yourself 2 or 3 ideas depending on what you wanted for your reputation. Maybe in that reputation, it's the body of work. So as a writer, is my writing clean, concise, illustrative, sort of thing? Find that's where you would have within your game plan. Make sure that that's how my reputation shows up. Make sense?
Mhm.
You wrote a couple things, you put your question marks in, because that's your freedom. Question mark means you're not going to own that just yet. Now here's the neat one: set metrics and benchmarks. I mean, we all work in a numbers-driven world, so hopefully this doesn't come across as a what the hell does that mean? But you have to find measurables and levels if you're really truly going to pursue this and start working on your personal brand. So in that sense, what kind of metrics would you create that tells you that you are right where you need to be, or you got to hurry up, or in some cases, slow down? Okay. So give yourself some freedom. How would I measure this thing that I just said for my reputation and it's going to show up here? How would I know I'm getting it done? What would I kind of create for metrics? Now, here's another thing I want to tell you. I'm giving this to you in real time. If some of this is like, I don't have a effing clue, Red, then the question mark means who would I ask about this? And by the way, you can ask me, you can ask Jonah, you can ask your coach, you can ask your manager. Does that make sense? Metrics
Yes.
and benchmarks? And then it's funny that this is number 5. A lot of us would think it would be number 1. But once you know the reputation that you want, you know where you want to show up, you know how you're going to measure it. Here's where most brands take the biggest hit: is we're not really set on our values. So here comes the old Red. Get jiggy with it. Sorry. Roll your eyes. But
I actually know that reference.
when you're not clear on your values, that's when you don't realize that your brand is kind of stuttered or stalled or
Mm,
not reached that intended kind of outcome. So get clear
mm.
on your values. All right. I took this all the way to 9:00. Questions on that? Is it crazy
Beautiful.
talk? Io, I see
It
I
makes
see a lot of
sense.
nonverbal stuff going on. What are we thinking?
No, I know we're short on time. It's just been interesting going through this with everybody while also dealing with stuff personally on my own. And I think one of the hardest things for us is for our brands and for who we are, it's like reconciling everything all the time. We're such complex individuals, right? And there's this quote from a movie. It's one of the Batmans that Two-Face said: "You either die a hero or live to see yourself become the villain." And it's been something that's stuck with me for forever. And so when I feel like I'm like seeing myself going that way. You know what I mean? You're not going to be the hero in everybody's story, right?
Mm.
And so coming to this now, when it's like figuring out how to have your brand, or if you think it takes a hit, how to repair it. I just was
Mm.
listening through it all and thinking about
Yeah.
it, and so
No.
Yeah.
that's some
Yeah.
truth to it
Me
on my
too.
part.
So I didn't do this last night. I shared these, but I didn't challenge folks to consider scribbling some notes. So I'm probably going to put this in the Slack chat and I will answer these from my own personal reference. But I'll see if we can't start a Slack conversation. I would love for you guys to weigh in. And if not in there, please reach out to me personally if you want to talk it through, because I am intrigued by this one. I feel like it's one of those things that I'm still pursuing, right? And I don't know if I've mastered that brand kind of piece, but it intrigues me. So I would love to have a conversation with anybody that would like to kind of work it out and talk it through, or even challenge it. I think honestly that would be a great conversation as well. So listen, we
The
hit
good
that.
brand's always changing and evolving anyway. So I mean, you're never done with it. So
You're
Yeah.
right, right. So thanks for letting me off the hook, Joe. I appreciate that.
yeah.
So listen, we did go to the top of the hour, and I have a couple things, Miss Jonna. First, if there's nothing else that you want to add, or is there anything else you wanted to add? I just want
No,
to
I'm
thank you.
good. I want to thank you guys. Thank you so much for your time and your candor. I greatly appreciate the conversation. It got me excited for the day. That's for sure.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I think honestly it was a fantastic conversation today. What I want to share with the group is we're moving now into the last two phases of EmpowerMe, and we're going to shift the experience in the review session. So real quick, we've been hosting open discussions and kind of working our way through a topic. But the last two pieces are going to be more workshop based. So more presentation, more kind of instruction that are going to come with that. On this particular one, it's about resumes. So I'll send out the one pager within about a day, get you guys going. You can journal, but we're probably going to also send you a little bit of homework, maybe to create, if you don't have one, to create a basic resume. We're going to bring Greg Zimba in, and he's going to talk to you from his unique vantage point as a recruiter about the do's and don'ts, what kind of helps you separate and stand out on a resume. It's a really fantastic hour, and I just wanted to put that out there for y'all.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.
Thank you guys for all your work.
Thank you guys. I want to, wish you a great day today. And if I see you in the halls, high five.
High five.
Great shift,
See you later,
everybody.
folks.
Have a great
Have
day.
a
We'll
great
see you.
day.
Thank you.